The Wire TV, your number one source for horse racing news and interviews, handicapping analysis, betting insights, and more. Pass the Wire TV covers the biggest races at the best tracks.
Garnet and Luis Saez to win the Belmont Stakes at Saratoga.
The Grey Wizard is absolutely flying. Champagne won. The Grey Wizard. Oh, it's very close. Leave it to the judge.
Like, share, and subscribe to Pass the Wire TV. Nobody does it better.
Hey, Sure Bet Coffee. Put that giddy up in your cup. That giddy up in your cup. Sure Bet Coffee.
Enter the world of Kingdom Nutrition, your number one source for healthy horses and fast finishes. Make sure your horses stay strong and healthy with the balanced mineral profile of Healthy Bones. This veterinarian recommended supplement helps foals, weanlings, and yearlings grow and develop. Healthy Bones also helps speed up recovery so your horses can stay in training longer and race more often. Plus, Appetite, the amazing product for your horses. Is your horse a poor eater? Does he dunk his grain in his water bucket? Do you believe he may have ulcers? Are you tired of paying for expensive drugs which offer only temporary relief? Why not try Appetite, the amazing product which is 100% all natural, produced by nature. Appetite contains more than 300 herbs, grasses, and wildflowers to help your horses look and feel amazing. Your cost for a 1-month supply is only $99. It comes with an unconditional money-back guarantee if you're not 100% satisfied with the results. Call Justin at Kingdom Nutrition today.
Ciao tutti, everybody. We're
Ciao
back.
tutti.
We're back. Unfortunately, we're here for the Lecomte preview. We're going to do some of the undercard races as well. We're going to deep dive the Lecomte and go through all the horses because you never know which one of those horses is going to wind up in the gate at Churchill Downs on the first Saturday in May, if any. Unfortunately, Big Race Jim couldn't be here. You know, beginning of the year, holidays, a lot going on. Schedules are tough, but you'll have to deal with Geo and myself, and we'll get Big Race Jim back, hopefully for the next show.
Yeah, and we are back, and I hope everybody has started their 2025 in robust fashion, that you and your families are healthy and happy, and you're bearing the cold weather if you're on the East Coast. I know I am. And let's face it, when you're getting through half of January, you have the NFL playoffs, which is prime, the divisional round and the championship games, and of course, leading to the Super Bowl. And of course, you have the first huge card, which comes up later next week at Gulfstream for the Pegasus. I wonder what make one football note.
Which for the Pegasus, let me just point out real quick, you will be doing a Geo famous precise order handicap for every race on the Pegasus card, including the Pegasus.
Absolutely. And I've already started to begin to grind it out. I've been watching races, preparing. I can't wait for the official entries to surface. And I'll be digging down deep in that card, full card, Geo precise handicap. One football note. As you guys know, I am a bloodthirsty, longtime Rams fan since the early 70s. This is my Kurt Warner figurine statue that always makes its place in my office, in my racing football office. Rams play at Philly. To keep it real, they're not as good as Philly, and it's a tough ask. They were very impressive against the Vikings, but those of you who follow the NFL know my enthusiasm for the Rams, and it should be a fun weekend. One story on that. My birthday is next week, the 23rd of January. In 1999, into the 2000 season, on my birthday, I attended the Rams Tampa Bay Bucks championship game in St. Louis. 6 rows from the field. Huge night. They won. They made it to the Super Bowl. They won the NFC Championship. And I just had recollections of that. I don't know if it's going to happen this year, and I'm probably not going to go. People have been asking if I'm going to Philadelphia. I'm not. I'm going to be home and cozy. Tough ass. We'll see what happens. Thanks for listening.
Absolutely. I've been wrong all year this year with football, but I do think they got a heck of a shot in Philly. We'll see. Rams are playing well.
Yep.
Detroit's going to be a tough out to get past, but
I think the Lions are Super Bowl bound, to be honest with you. I don't think anybody's beating them in Detroit. And I feel good for ex-Ram Jared Goff.
Having a great year. Great year. Really great, man. You were a believer in him from day one. So
I have never left Goff's corner. I actually was upset with the Rams when they traded him. I know Stafford won it all in 21, but you gave up 8 years plus in the most important position because Stafford's on his way out,
Yeah, I agree. Lecomte Stakes. Who's going to get the key to the Ferrari in the Lecomte Stakes? And more interesting, or maybe even more importantly, are there any Kentucky Derby horses in the Lecomte?
I'll tell you one thing. When I really dig down deep and dived into this race, one of the things, John, I know you do as well as I do often, in race review, I look for, because remember, these are 3-year-olds who have had a handful of races under their belt. So I need to see that Kentucky Derby tenacity, that willing to run deep in the stretch, that fight. So I gave this a long look. It's a very competitive field, and I'm excited to talk about it.
It is. It's a good race. It came up pretty tough. I think of the 3-year-old races we've seen so far this year, I think this might be the toughest and most intriguing of them all.
Yeah, and people have to understand that those that are not familiar with the New Orleans track at the fairgrounds, correct me if I'm wrong, John, it is the longest stretch in all of thoroughbred racing in this country.
I'll tell you one thing. It certainly feels that way when you're on the lead and looking for a horse to get home. It's like that wire never comes up. It's like,
it is.
Where's the wire?
Yeah, it is a long. I think Keeneland and maybe Churchill are the next two. You guys viewing could check it out. But this is the longest stretch run on their main oval. And that's something to consider when you're doing your work at fairgrounds.
All right, let's get right into it, and we'll run down the field, see where we land, talk about 14 in here, so we got a ways to go. So let's get to it. I thought I'll start with Innovator. Took him a while to break his maiden, stretching out, all sprinting so far. He's run good. He's run, 1 or 2, in my opinion, not so good races, but I think it's a big ask to ask him to stretch out and beat this group. I don't like him.
Wow, interesting, John, because we come out of the gate, and usually, obviously we have very lengthy backgrounds in terms of how we approach a race, and I really thought you were going to give him consideration because I'm going to speak a lot about Innovator because I was very intrigued with him coming into this race, and I'll tell you why. All right? First things first, very expensive son of Authentic, $900,000. The coach, Dwayne Lucas, is stretching him out. I do like that work at Oaklawn Park, that breeze. But most important with this horse, if you look at the way the horse started out, all right, as a juvenile at Churchill Downs and going on to Saratoga, first of all, in that Hopeful, which was a big reach at the time as a maiden, in the Hopeful, this horse broke in a a mix, like just surrounded. Didn't really have a chance, was bumped, but then kept to the task at hand. In that race, of course, won by Chance and McPatrick. He had Ferocious. So I thought that horse showed me a lot in that race in defeat. Subsequently, just missed off the layoff in the special weight with Sayaz aboard at Churchill.
To Barnes, who has a lot of respect.
Correct. Now, in that race, I'm glad you mentioned that. Barnes, if you watch that race, man, this horse, and one of the things I mentioned as a preliminary before we got into this race, Innovator has natural instinctiveness to fight. This horse digs down. I've seen it 2 or 3 times. And you mentioned that race with Barnes. Barnes, drifted a bit, but that horse kept running in the stretch, and Barnes is a highly touted horse. So look at the money that Innovator took in his last 2. All right? Even the last race, Graduating. This is a horse that showed heart, and it's something I couldn't get past. So believe it or not, I landed on Innovator.
Wow. Okay.
The reason why I landed on Innovator more than anything is because I think and believe there's some versatility in this horse. There's a lot of speed to the outside, but there's going to be decision-making here around the first turn. If the others don't get out, he could be versatile to be on the lead, but if the others get out, he could sit a real good trip. And there's something about Dwayne Lucas stretching him out here between that tenacity that I like to see and the fact that he was ambitiously placed in the hopeful grade 1. I think this horse runs a career race. Big threat. I'm going to use 3 in my pick 5, which we'll get into, but I landed on this horse to win this race at a price.
Interesting. Interesting pick. I personally think his best chance, and I would go as far as say maybe his only chance is to win is on the lead, stretching out. And I do think he should get the lead from the rail, but I don't think he's going to be able to hold off a couple in here, but we'll see. Why don't you start with Maximum Promise?
Yeah, Maximum Promise. I could be rather brief. It is BJ Hernandez up for Ken McPeak. It always opened my eyes. The 2 races at Ellis Park, to me, not overly impressive. On debut, broke from the outside post, didn't have much of a chance, showed some run, then breaking the maiden. One thing I realized, when a horse draws off like that, you got to look at the demographics of the race and the others. It was a very, very weak, small field, 6 horses, won easily. But in this spot, I'm not interested. First race since August. I'm tossing the 2.
He's only got 1 start on the dirt. First race was on the grass. He made up some ground going a mile. He's got 1 start on the dirt. He won it by 14 plus lengths, rather easily. I'm not wild about Maximum Security and all the controversy involving him as a sire and whatnot, but I find him a little intriguing. I don't land on him at all, and I'm not going to say I think he's a major player, but if he won, it wouldn't shock me, put it that way, and if he runs really bad, it wouldn't shock me either. Which takes us to the next one, Admiral Dennis. Gets Rosario for Saez. Brad Cox lost to a couple of these before, but I guess, he did stumble. He didn't have the best of trips. Maybe you could give him a pass that day. He took money all 3 of his starts. I'm not quite sold on him, but if you like him, I could certainly see why, but I'm not sold.
Okay, John, fair enough. I got some added points and some that will repeat. I thought it was very interesting that Sayaz went to Tough Catch. who we're going to get into later on in the race. But Rosario, you'll never lose quality. Even though Sayaz went the tough catch, Rosario's still going to give you a good run. He was well bet at the window every one of his races. I believe he should move forward. But one of the very important things I'm going to point out to this horse, this is a $425,000 son of Constitution. If you look at that last race, the gun runner, which a lot of people are going to talk about built, not only did he put his nose to the turf on the break, but in that race, a very small 5-horse field, 2 of the horses broke bad of the 5. That's one of the reasons why Built got so loose. But more importantly, this guy came running. He kept to the task at hand. And I think that race experience, first time stretching out, coming back at the distance, a race over the track. If you look at the fractions of that race, when a horse chases that kind of pace, after sticking his nose in the turf on the break and runs well, seem composed, I think he gets better, and I think he gets a better trip this time. And in my overall handicap, he was my 3rd choice, and I got to think about using him in my pick 5.
Makes a lot of sense. I got no major knocks on him, but I'm not quite there yet. Magnitude. What'd you think of him?
Okay, I'll lead off with Magnitude. It always opens my eye in the beginning when I see connections of Jose Ortiz with Steven Asmussen. I watched every one of his races. I do believe there's some talent. The horse is improving, and I feel the horse will potentially take a step forward here too. But the last 2, remember, when I asked, and I said in the beginning, I like to see tenacity, I like to see fight, I like to see willingness, I like to see maturity. This horse's last 2 races were 5-horse fields. Now, all of a sudden, you put together a monster 14-horse field. There's going to be a lot of horses in the mix. I don't know if this guy, even with the clever riding of Jose Ortiz, could come out of that mix and run. Even though he may improve, I don't think he's going to be good enough to beat this field.
Okay. I thought he was kind of okay, but just a cut below at least 3 or 4 of the others in here. So even if he did run his race, and even if he did take a little step forward, which I'm not even sure he's going to, but even if he did, I don't think it's good enough to get him to win, so to speak. So I'm not using him, and he'll probably be a little bit of an underlay, being from Steve's barn with Jose riding, and Jose's riding like lights out over there at 30% or 40%, some ridiculous number like that. So
automatic underlay, I agree, or inevitable underlay, inevitable.
I didn't like him. What do you think of Optical? That should be a quick one, in my opinion.
I'm going to lead off with Optical. Yeah. Now, Optical was not a toss to me. You viewers will see that I have my precise order later on where I'm going to go deep for your deeper gimmicks. Optical made my handicap deep as my 5th choice, and I'll tell you why. If you look at the body,
he's my 15th choice, and there's only 14 in the race.
Okay, let me just tell you why I gave him a puncher's chance at a price. A puncher's chance at a price. Originally, it was 6th or 7th. I upgraded him to 5 only because of the value. Second time, James Graham is coming back. The angle here for Keith DeSormo, blinkers on, an excellent work at Fairgrounds. All right, the horse is coming to Fairgrounds off on a good track, breezes, a bullet breeze, coming into the race, facing better, has to improve, but I feel there is improvement here. the combination of the work, the blinkers, and the whole configuration of this field in terms of the trip I'm expecting, I think this horse is going to show his career best and may hit the board in deeper gimmicks. That's how I see him.
Interesting. I didn't like him at all. I thought he was in a little bit over his head. He does put blinkers on. Is that going to be enough? I don't see it, but I've been wrong before. But I like I said, he's my 15th choice in a 14-horse field. So, but I'll tell you this: the next horse in the race, Golden Afternoon, I find extremely interesting. First starter for Nicholas Vaccarazza. Nick is Carlo Vaccarazza's son. Carlo owned Little Mike, trains on his own, owns Frank and Dino's restaurant in Lexington, Kentucky, owned a couple of restaurants here in South Florida, and way back when owned Denoy in Manhattan, way back in the day. But that's ancient history. Now he's a breeder, owner, developer, and Nick's been groomed to go out on his own since he was a little kid. Works for Chad Brown, worked with a lot of people, and running his first horse in the Lecomte, and running a horse that's got 3 starts on the turf, on the dirt for the first time. The horse has never run a bad race. He sits and finishes. He's been a route of ground. He's by Golden Sense. A lot of dirt breeding there. Into Mischief on top. A lot of dirt breeding there. Out of a Street Cry mare. A lot of dirt breeding there. I like the dirt works. I like the gutsy move to run your first horse out of the box in a race like this under these conditions. I think it shows a lot of confidence from a kid who doesn't have a lot of experience on his own, but has been around a lot of sharp people and a lot of nice horses. And I think if this horse handles the dirt, and I expect he will, I think he's very dangerous at a price, and I think he's going to be completely overlooked.
All right, John, interesting. And I'm going to touch up on a couple of points you've already made, because on my pad of my notes, my exclusive SETI notes, I circled wild card for this guy, because so I echo the effect. Now, that the trainer's got to be less, he's got to be younger than my son. I think he's like 24 or 25 years old.
Nick's a young guy, but he's an old soul. He's you know, he's been around.
Here's the plus. The pluses are everything that you say that I'll echo. However, first dirt start, and I'm a believer of Golden Scent. I also did a double check and dug into the full bloodlines. No problem. This horse running on the dirt. No problem whatsoever. He is a gelding. You know, if he ran, considering turf times, if he was out of the high 60s or the 70s for the way he ran those races, I would have been more enamored or compelled in his chances here. There's some faster colts in this race. So he has to do 2 things. He has to run well on the dirt, which I feel he will, but then he has to be faster than he has been. Wild card, no doubt, will be used in my bottom gimmicks. I don't know if he's good enough to win, but.
Okay, fair enough. Calling card, Frankie Dettori from Mike Maker. Thoughts?
You want me to win off?
Absolutely.
All right. You know, again, sometimes you see the connections and it automatically grabs your attention. So when I saw Frankie was up for Mike Maker, who you guys know, our viewers know I have a tremendous amount of respect for, New York bred, must keep that into consideration. I believe the horse is fit. Last 2 works are an indication of that. In my opinion, full body of work has proven to be a runner to me. When I define a horse as a runner, is a horse that's going to run on any surface and who shows a willingness to continue to run in the stretch. I think he's built for the distance. I listed him as a horse who needs a quality trip, but Frankie's very capable of giving one. I don't think he could be dismissed. Not likely to be the winner, but should be considered in your deeper gimmicks and exotics.
Okay. I think there's a good example to something that we kind of touched on and that you kind of elaborated on when I talked a little bit about Golden Afternoon and some of the reasons why I thought he was a live long shot. Look at Calling Card's race on October 19th. And those of you that have the form at home, just take a look. Comes out of a race where they ran 24, 49 and 2, 114, 143 and 2, going a mile and a 16th on the turf. And he was, pretty well back early, 10 lengths back, 9 lengths back, then got beat 2.5 lengths. Comes out of that race, goes first time on the dirt. Race runs 24, 46, 111 and 2, 136 and 1. And he was a lot closer all the way around and won the race by, 17 lengths. Imagine if Golden Afternoon runs as faster on the dirt as Calling Card did.
Interesting point there, John.
One
other footnote.
He is slower on the turf, but
correct. One other footnote on that. It was against state-bred maidens, maiden specials, then went into open company and regressed from that number. That's the only thing I'd say.
Does the clock know whether they're state-breds or what they are?
No, listen, great. You made a great point there. Listen, that actually supports your claim on the afternoon horse, the horse that's going.
And I get it. I'm as aware of it as anybody that he may not take to the dirt. And he may not run that much faster, but it's not such as big an ask as people might think for a horse to run faster first time on the dirt if he is bred for it and likes it. And I think Golden Sense out of a street cry mare definitely has the ability to do that. Tough Catch. The other horse in here that's coming out of sprints, like the horse Innovator on the rail that you like, and the horse that Saez went to, or at least it appears that he went to. I don't, to me, he looks like he's got a great style for this race because I think this race is going to be won by somebody stalking, sitting, close, but not too close and not too far back. He's got a great style sprinting for this race. I don't know if that's going to translate to routing the same way. And I find him a very tough read personally. I'm not sure he's going to stretch out, and I'm not sure he's not. Saez, he's one of those riders that always keeps trying. This horse looks to me like a horse that always keeps trying. I'm just not sold on him.
Okay, let me tell you some added points. You know me, I always love Saez, taking him out. Dallas Stewart is someone who I trust and I value his conditioning. It's a well-built grade, too. Well-built grade. I put that in my notes. Took in a lot of money. Also is ambitiously entered off his maiden score in debut in the Hopeful. The race that I spoke about earlier, he didn't do much running, but it was an ambitious entered opportunity. The last 3 races, granted sprints, showed the type of heart and ability that you feel the horse can improve. However, this is a big point here. I keep a very lengthy statistic on horses that run their career best buyer on Lasix and then come off Lasix. No Lasix here. No Lasix here. So not only is he stretching out, then you have the question on whether this horse will not only, I think he will adapt to stretching out, and I trust Saez giving him a good ride, but now he's back off Lasix, and that makes me question on whether he's going to be able to compete in the trenches late in the race.
Okay, fair enough. Dapper Moon.
I'll lead off on Dapper Moon. Huh?
Go ahead.
I'll lead off on Dapper Moon. I'll be rather quick with him. His last race over the fairground soil, he cut back, successfully won, albeit versus state breds. He was odds on that day. This is a much, much tougher field. And he's had 6 races to run a big one that would have made me say, wow. And he hasn't. So I'm not using a horse like this matched up against the others who I was impressed with.
Okay. More better than good? Oh, well.
No, I got to hear your thoughts.
Man, yeah. You know, I looked long and hard at him, and at first I thought I liked the trip that he was going to get, and I still think I like the trip he was going to get. Of the 2 Dallas Stewart horses, I think I leaned to him more than the other one, and got a little bit more faith in him than the other one. Am I going to get deep enough to use him? Probably not. But, you know, he's, you know, maybe like, you know, 4 back for me, 3 or 4 back, 5 back. You know, you like to do that precise order, you know, and go deep. He, you know, he doesn't make my top 3, but I don't think he's far out of my top 3, if that makes any sense.
Okay, fair enough. Let's move on to Mo Better Than Good.
Well, if he wins, it's a heck of a job by Ken McPeak, you know, to come back off a layoff from Saratoga as a 2-year-old, win against New York breds, coming from the clouds. Rough trip, runs past them all, and now going to stretch out and win the Lecomte. I got to see it to believe
it. You know, we share the same sentiments. I'll be real quick on it. Everything you just said, you know, a horse making his first start since September. He did look good in debut. It was a nice race, but yeah, this is going into open company. This is a tough ask. Second start. You know, I had to toss him.
Okay. I'll lead off with Disco Time because that is where I land.
Interesting. Go ahead.
You know, Brad Cox in these races just shows up. You know, he just shows up. You've got a Juddmonte homebred here that wins first time out at 2-1, you know, relatively easily, stretches out to a mile at Churchill Downs, both races, 1-turn mile. Again, wins relatively easy. Got better than the first race. Race was a little faster than the first race. I think first time out, he showed he could sit. Second time out, he showed he can be a little diversified and can get a mile no problem. I don't see a mile in the 16th any problem. I think that he's going to handle the 2 turns and the stretching out perfect. The 11 hole is not ideal, but it's far out enough where Flo doesn't have to worry about going for the lead, can sit a nice 3rd, 4th stalking kind of trip, save a little bit of ground. It's a Brad Cox horse. He's going to give him that cue at the top of the stretch or turning for home. He's going to move right up into contention, and I got a feeling he's going to be good enough to handle these horses, and that's where I land. I expect him to take another forward move and put himself on the Derby trail as the winner of the Lecomte.
All right, John. You know, and I'm pretty happy that you do like him and landed on him because, remember, I said ultimately I landed on Innovator, but I didn't give my second choice yet. My second choice was this horse. My top 3 in the race was 1, 11, 3, and we'll go over that when I give my precise order. But why I like Disco Time. To echo some of what you shared, but to add another point, I believe the horse is built to stretch out. I trust Brad Cox and the campaign the horse has had so far. The 2 at Churchill Downs is the first time going 2 turns, but I have no reservations with that. I like his numbers. I like the fact that he took in money. He's got that raw speed, tactical speed, and I'm not worried about him being threatened by the horse on the outside of him, Built, for reasons I'll discuss when we get to Built. So to echo you sharing that he should sit a comfortable trip, 100% agree with that. Definitely a contender to take it all. He's my second choice, and I will, by default, use him in my pick 3s and my pick 5. And I had this vision, a real good vision, of Disco Time and Innovator deep in the stretch, going at it, and who gets to the wire first. That's the way I saw it. And my third choice being Rosario's horse, Admiral Dennis, right behind him.
Disco Time, to me.
What happened here?
That's him.
Oh, Diamond. Hey, I'm going to use him.
He's
But
a
and let me
diamond.
tell you something.
Disco Time.
Listen, I'm going to play that exacta strong. See, this is one incidence. If I'm having a vision for the viewers, yeah, I landed on Innovator. But if I'm using both of them in my pick 3 and pick 5, I'm going strong at Innovator over Disco Time. But I'm covering Disco Time over Innovator because that's the vision I have. And both of them over the 3.
All right.
Diamond there, huh?
That's I think Disco Time. Keys to the Ferrari.
All right, there you go.
That's my opinion. Jolly Samurai coming in from Remington Park. Cole Battle did come into Oaklawn and win, but not for me.
Yeah, I looked at every horse seriously, but when you get a gelding like this coming from Remington Park, Diaz up, weak connections, gelding, to me on tape has the look of a raw sprinter. I don't think this horse is a horse that can compete late in races, especially in a stretch like this against this company, tossing them.
Now, I got to ask you this. Built off that gun runner. Is he the gold or was that just a fluke?
Correct. Yeah, listen, if my leading with Built?
Yes.
All right, I got a lot to say. I like your graphics there, John. Good job. So Built.
I'm no big race Jim, but we're learning.
Yeah. A lot of people are going to be talking lots about this guy because he comes into the race in the gun runner.
Doesn't he have to regress or no?
Yeah. No, here's the thing. The 92 buyer opens eyes, but he will regress, and I'll tell you why. Okay? His last was nice. However, a 5-horse field, and folks, please watch the race. A 5-horse field, and not one, but
Two of them got up.
2 broke terribly. So he gets out, pedestrian pace, soft 49.5. 2 of the horses are out of contention early on because they broke poorly. So he's going against 2 others, walks around. Now, he did, to be fair, you finished well. And I like that Loveberry's coming right back, and he has a win over the track. But the 14 hole, breaking from the 14 after that effort with speed to his inside, I don't like him. I think he's potentially off the board here.
Wow. Okay, so we're in agreement.
Yeah. Don't like him. I hope he's 3-2. I hope he's 3-2. Hope he gobbles up a lot of money. I'm not using him.
Are you using Seattle Road?
Seattle Road, the very rare number 14 in a race. I'll share a couple thoughts with him. And yes, deep in gimmicks, I'm using the 14. That means in my superfecta key with Innovator, over the next 5, he's going to make it. Seattle Road, one thing about this horse, he wanted the distance. He's ambitiously entered off his maiden win, first time versus winners. He's won over the track. He's 2 for 2 in exactas over the track. However, he got LASIX last 2. So sometimes that puts me on the fence here because did he improve greatly with LASIX or does he have raw ability? So I sort of had mixed emotions with this guy, but I say, you know one thing? I'm not going to let him be dismissed at 30-1 and I have a superfecta key and I don't use him. So I haven't eliminated him altogether. Can he win from that post? No. Can he be a fast closing 4th? Yeah. So that's where I land with him as a potential gimmick player in deeper superfectas.
Okay. I didn't like him. I didn't think he was good enough. I certainly didn't like the post. So for me, he was a pass.
All right. So as we're recapping this very interesting grade 3 Lecomte, I'm just going to give the folks, if they followed me along and took notes, my precise order of finish. And because there's 14 horses, I went really deep because you may want to add some in your other supers. My precise order is 1, 11, 3, 8, 5, 6, 13, 7. Write it down.
Okay. Why don't we go backwards from here? And what we're going to do on the other races, we're just going to say who we like and why. You can give your precise order like you like to do. But we'll go backwards. And we'll go to race 11, the Louisiana. 10 older horses going a mile and a 16th. I'll start. I landed on Skinner. And I'll tell you why. I've always thought Skinner was a horse that had some ability. I thought for a long time he was sitting on a big race. He never really delivered it. And even last time when he finally won, he didn't quite deliver the kind of race that I believed for a long time he had in him. Now, he gets a trainer change, and it's not so much the trainer change where I'm going to knock the old trainer and compliment Sherry DeVoe. Sherry does a great job, had a great year, and I think the change is going to help. But I think it's more going to help just because sometimes a change does a horse good. But what's more important to me than the trainer change is the circuit change. Maybe this horse just didn't like those tracks out there. California tracks historically have been speedy, small fields, not the right pace setups, a lot of excuses, had to move earlier than he wanted to a couple of times to try and get in the race. I think maybe last time light bulb went off, got a little bit confident. In conjunction with that, gets a barn change over to the East Coast. Fairgrounds can be a very friendly track to closers with that long stretch we spoke about. Jose Ortiz on fire. Here comes Skinner running. Get the gold.
I like that gold feature, John. And by the way, is Skinner a single for you, or you consider others in the pick 5? Before I get into my analysis on this race.
I have 2 singles in the pick 5. Skinner is one of them.
Wow, interesting. All right, well, by default.
And the next is in the next race we're going to talk about.
Okay. On a Louisiana, I landed on Track Phantom. However, Skinner and Hit Show were right there with me in terms of horses that I'll use in the pick 5. But let me elaborate. By the way, very interesting points, John. You stole my thunder with Skinner in terms of getting out of California. He had a nice 2024, lightly raced, definitely a contender. I see him running hard in the stretch. And Hit Show, you can't dismiss his Hit Show's 2024. Should come back as a 5-year-old running, competitive. You got to trust Brad Cox. So Hit Show and Skinner were contenders who I have to respect, not only because of their body of work, but what led them to the race. The reason why I landed on Track Phantom, all right? I looked at him and labeled him as most dangerous because, to me, not only is he proven at fairgrounds, but it's his third off a layoff. He loves the distance. And if you remember last year in the Derby preps and even in the Kentucky Derby with 20 horses, he breaks well. If he's eyeballed left and right, in the mix early, he still keeps running. I think he potentially gets loose here and they can't catch him. And, and if for some reason he's challenged a little early, I still think he could fight his way to the finish. So I got Track Phantom, top choice, but I'm also using Skinner and Hit Show in my pick 5 and the SETI precise order: 1, 5, 8, 4, 3, 10.
Okay. Working backwards, race 10, the Colonel Bradley. This angle that I'm going to tell you, which is only part of the reason why I'm singling this horse and probably betting this horse alone. And it ties into the other race. The one thing I didn't mention about the Louisiana was another reason I like Skinner is because I don't like anybody else. This next race, there's one or two others that I look at, but I lean one way. And this next angle that I'm going to tell you, and if you go back over the past year and a half and look it up, it's nothing but money. Money, money, money. Horses coming off Turfway Park, be it training or be it running, they come off that track and they pop.
We're on the same horse. I can't wait to hear you. Go ahead.
At all different prices, at all different surfaces, at all different distances. They're working out over there. They go anywhere else in the country and they win. They're racing over there. They go anywhere else in the country and they win. I like Wadsworth, okay? Wadsworth always showed a lot of talent, had plenty of races at Turfway, only 5 starts on the grass, 2 wins, 3 seconds, was knocking on the door, being a really, really nice turf horse, runs a Kentucky Downs, runs a good second, lays off, comes off a long layoff, runs at Churchill Downs, going a mile, runs a hell of a race, goes back into Prairie Bayou at Turf Paradise on that synthetic in a stake. First and third theory, that first race back, the bones are all loose. You come back nice. You feel it a little bit that after that second start. Third race, a lot of times it's that peak race, that move forward race, back on the grass, back at a big day. Brad Cox, Wadsworth, sits a perfect trip with Flo. That's where I land.
John, and for the folks watching at home, this is a grade 3. We're electrifying grade 1 and grade 2, but also grade 3 when we land on the same horse. Money. I got to add 2 more points to what you just shared because I love this horse too. This horse, I was churning in my mind, am I going to single him or am I going to go too deep into pick 5? But the fact that John loves him too, and we have such a high level percentage in graded stakes races when we handicap independently and land on the same horse.
I would say of the past 25 that's happened, probably 22, 21 of them have won.
Yeah. At different prices. We're not talking about odds on. And this guy may get dismissed. We may get 4-1, 9-2 on him. Just to add 2 more points to what you just shared, because I loved everything you shared because it was like coming right from my intestines here. I love that. Gelding facing older, prepared, 5 for 5 in exactas, on the lawn, proven at the distance. I know this horse is going to be prepared. 1 for Giroux and Brad Cox down the road. For folks that like to take my precise order, because I know you're going to be betting exotics in this Colonel Bradley, I am 11 single over the 178.95. 11 over 178.95.
You know, it's interesting because we were spot on. Remember, I told you there was one other horse I was afraid of. It was the one. It was the one. Yeah.
Wow. So we have our exacta too.
First time gelding, capable of a big race, but I just, you know, after the deep dive dissection of the race, I wound up on Wadsworth. But the one is the one that I was.
Sayers is on him too. And I will be playing a robust 11-1 exacta, folks.
Yeah, I like 11-1 ice cold, honestly. Bang.
All right, bang.
Next race, Silver Bullet Day. Oaks fillies.
Wait, where are we going? Yeah, Silver Bullet. Yeah.
I had a hard time with this race. I really did.
9. Yeah, it's race 9. Go ahead.
Yeah, I didn't think I would, but I did. And I'm a little bit all over the place, but you got to put a gun to my head for me. You know, we're only taking our top choice here. So I think that Gowell's Delight, who was able to win going long, first time out, and draw off, even though she was completely disregarded in the betting, over the track, closed into some slow fractions. I'm gonna tepidly give her my top choice vote in a race where I'll be the first to admit I had a very, very hard time coming up with anybody.
All right, John, fair enough. Interesting. I didn't have as much of a difficult time in this race. I don't have a single, but I'm only using 2 of my pick 5. And I actually love the 3 Simply Joking. Let me talk to you about Simply Joking in this race, okay? First of all, great respect for Whit Beckman. It's a daughter of Practical Joke. Folks, go and watch this race in your race review. I watched it 3 or 4 times. I paused, I stopped, I watched it again. On debut over the same fairground soil, okay? Broke slow. Didn't have much of a chance when you think about a horse breaking slow on debut. But the horse kept to the task at hand, showed a willingness to run, swung 5 wide, drifted, and still won. The horse had every reason to say, I can't do this. Racing's not for me. I wait for my second start. Run an 84 buyer. And then if you watch the gallop out, this horse, I just think this horse is in shape. It's a Practical Joke. I trust Wick Bettman. I think this horse is going to get some money, but without trouble and a clean break, it's a good trip and is the most likely winner. Top choice, Simply Joking. My full precise order, 3, 8, 1, 5, 4, 2. 3, 8, 1, 5, 4, 2.
Okay. Tough race for me, but we'll see what happens. Moving backwards. Next race was not quite as tough for me. I like number 7, Austere.
Excuse me, John. Everybody needs to. This is race 8, the Marie Krantz Memorial.
Correct. We're working backwards. Number 7, Austere in race 8, the M. Krantz Memorial. You know, the race at Tampa a while back, the Florida Oaks, I thought didn't have a good trip. Thought she would make up for that in the Appalachian with Tyler. Had a worse trip. Lays off, comes back at the fairgrounds, all grown up. Finally gets through with Lasix. Runs the race I thought she was sitting on. Coming out of the Breeders' Cup race to hard to justify. Started off the career with 2 wins. Declan Cannon is 2 for 2 on her. I think she's a really nice developing horse that's under the radar right now, but won't be later on in the year. I think she's actually a good one and going to get better and better and better. And I think there's a lot of pretenders in here, and I think that she's the most likely winner in my book. I do respect the 8 Champagne Rose at 20-1. I was able to watch some of her replays, and she does look like she's got some ability, and she's had some time to acclimate over here. But I'm on Austere.
Interesting find there, John. I gave that horse some consideration too, made my handicap. And it's interesting how you mentioned the horse coming from Brazil. For the viewers, John mentioned the 8 Champagne Rose coming over from Brazil, 4 out of 5 on the lawn and getting Lasix. But in this race, I'm going to use 3 in my pick 5, and John's horse was one of them. But I land on the 3, Stir Crazy. Let me define why I landed on Stir Crazy, because you don't see this often. All right? Stir Crazy is a 7-year-old mare. And how often do you see a 7-year-old mare getting better with age? As a 6-year-old, 7 of 9 in the exacta, competitive, good race times. I don't have a problem with the distance. 6 out of 7 on the exacta at the distance. You pick up Rosario here, Mike Maker. If for whatever reason, because they're talking about some rain earlier in the day, they should be running on the lawn. But if the turf is a little soft or whatever, the horse has embraced a wet surface before. So if they take it off the turf, this horse is a contender. I think Stir Crazy, at her tender age of 7, could come up with another one. Top choice, not a single. I like John's horse as my 3rd choice. And my 2nd choice in the race, who I have to add another comment to, is the 13, Not a Day. Jose Ortiz is up, 6-year-old mare. This is a horse that did all of her running in Argentina, came to Keeneland, and if you watch that race at Keeneland, that horse ran by everybody, and there wasn't an overexerted effort. I wouldn't be surprised if the 13 runs a very, very solid race here too.
There you have it. We got the pick 5. We got some nice prices leading into the Lecomte. We got some decent prices into Lecomte. I think if we manage to connect with this pick 5, it's not a steep ticket, and it could pay pretty decently. I will say this, and this is not a good thing, but honesty. In all my years of playing horses, and I don't play the fairgrounds a lot, but I play it enough where I know what I'm saying is an accurate statement. Every racetrack that I play a lot, I've made more than one 6-figure score at in my lifetime. Okay? I have never made a 6-figure score at the fairgrounds, ever. I think a couple of years ago, I was alive for one in the pick 5, and I think it was the year I needed an odds-on favorite. I don't remember who it was, but I needed a very heavy favorite to close the pick 5, and I had it, I don't know, 100 times or something ridiculous, and it was going to be close to, it was close to the whole pool. It was by far my biggest, and I think, I'm not sure, I think it was the year that Epicenter came back after being on the lead and getting passed, came back and won again. Something fluky happened, and I'm like, look at this. I still can't win at the fairgrounds. So keep that in mind. The fairgrounds has never, ever, ever been good to me, ever, not once. A couple of years ago, when all those jackpot bets were very popular, remember? They had like that black gold pick 5. All right, that was kind of like the equivalent of the Rainbow Six. You had to have I'm sitting there. I was at Oklahoma Park, and I bet it. I get like a 30 to 1, a 20 to 1, a 15 to 1, a 4 to 1. I'm alive with 3-4 horses in the last leg. I get a 7 to 1. I'm sitting with my friend Al. I'm like, I got to have this whole pool, 100, 150,000, because you got to have it. You got to have it. You got to have the whole pool. There were like 5 other winners that paid like 7,000. I couldn't believe it with all those prices. I'm like, this racetrack hates me. They must have my card, my betting app locked into their system where they know it's me.
Well, to add to the story of which tracks make you more successful or not, I've never had a 6-figure score. And it's because I haven't had the capacity and capital in my life work to put myself in a position for one. But I've had many, many, many scores in the thousands.
I won $250,000 on a $576 bet.
That's a beautiful thing. I don't have too many $576 bets in the multiples, but I do have a couple stories to tell you in terms of exactas and triples. My track's lifetime, I have slayed Monmouth over the years. Because Monmouth, I have an advantage. Not only is it my home track here down at Jersey Shore, but even when I was in Brooklyn and Staten Island, I went to Monmouth. Monmouth, there's a lot of picnickers, and I thrive on the overlays I get at Monmouth. But Saratoga and Naira too, at the old Belmont, not really Aqueduct, I've made a lot of big scores there. I'm still waiting for that 6-figure score. It's coming. And you guys will know when it does come.
Came real close a couple of weeks ago.
At Turfway Park, right? Having 2 alive in the pick 5, 2 tickets for $155,000. And one of my horses scratches at the gate. And I get the favorite. And that would have gave me 50 grand. And the favorite runs off. He runs second, but a beaten second.
Yeah, I felt so bad for you. You know, I couldn't watch that race live, so I made it a point to shut off all social media so I didn't see whether you won or not. And I watched it like maybe 45 minutes after it was all over. You know what I mean? And I was like, oh man, Geo. And it was just one of those races where you never looked like a winner, man. It was Derby when I was alive for $500,000 or $1 million with Sol Volante or Honor AP, just never looked like a winner. You know what I mean?
And the irony of that pick 5, the horse that scratched at the gate that gave me the favorite, I wanted him to run. At first asking, I liked his opportunity in debut, and they took it from me. So I said maybe it was fate. I got the favorite on the outside, and he ran second. But you're right, never a threat to the winner. And that was a heartbreaker. It really was.
Well, we'll close with this. I think this was a fun show. Geo, it was great to get back. We talk all the time, but it was great to get back on a show with you. But let's close with this. And I think I could speak for Geo and everybody at Past the Wire and Amwager and Shorebed Coffee and Spendthrift Farm and Kingdom Nutrition and you know, all our sponsors, just everybody. Our hearts, thoughts, and prayers and well wishes are out to everybody affected by the fires out in California, in the Los Angeles area. A lot of horsemen affected. A lot of people lost their homes. And you know, you're all in our thoughts and prayers. It kind of puts everything in perspective. Makes us realize what really is important in life and what really is not all that important in life. And as important and as much as, you know, we love this game, and as as much passion and emotion as guys like Geo and I put into it. When something like that happens, it just kind of, gives you a reality check. So everybody out there that's affected, we're with you. We pray for you. If we can help you, reach out. And if we can help, we will. And that's a sincere offer. So
Well said, John. Well said.
Stay strong, man. Stay strong.
Listen, I echo the effect. Well said, John. Always remember, one of my mantras is better days always. It's not so much what we have to absorb in life. It's how you respond to it. Trust me, we all have battles, but when you get a battle like that where wind and fire wipes out your home, it's a tough one to swallow, but you still need to move forward.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. So, again, stay strong, and let's see if we could be right on who gets the keys to the Ferrari in the Lecomte. We'll be back with Kentucky Derby Radar episode number 2 next week. Hopefully we can get Big Race Jim back on the show with us. He's got a crazy schedule lately, a lot going on with him. We're going to get Charles Trent on. We're going to get Eddie C on. We'll have a lot of guests coming up. We're going to try and focus more on handicapping guests and a little bit less interviews. We started that last year, and that seems to be what everybody likes. If we're wrong and you want more interviews, let us know, and I'll break out the phone and I'll start calling people. But
and John,
go ahead.
Give a little thought about what you're doing next week at Gulfstream Park and what we have coming up with the Pegasus.
Next week we'll be at the Pegasus live. We'll be broadcasting live from the Pegasus. We'll be giving opinions out. We'll be giving out information. Geo is going to be doing his famous deep dive, precise order of finish, available exclusively on Past the Wire. You'll be able to check that out. I don't know anybody that does it like him and puts in the work like he does and picks the exact order of finish in 14-horse races. He'll tell you who he thinks is going to finish 7th, 10th, and 12th. I don't know how anybody does that, but he does it, and he does it consistently. So that will be available. Gio was supposed to come down for the Pegasus. We're a little disappointed. Didn't work out. Things happen. He was supposed to come down with a friend, but we'll get him down for a big race this year for sure. And that's a wrap, everybody.
Yup. Enjoy the night. Let's go get him this weekend.
Okay, let's get him, and ciao, ciao.
Tracking trips at Past the Wire. There is no better time than now to join and ride with this clan. We'll be your second set of expert trained eyes. We ain't gonna buy you a fish. Sure, we'll give you some, but more importantly, we'll show you how to fish and make you a better. CAWs, sharks in the water, no problem. We'll go against anybody, and we have the track record to prove it. Big days, big pools, and select days all year long. We'll outplay them all. Looking for an ace? You're in the right place. Want to find that diamond? Be with us. Want to know more? Just ask a member or visit us at pastthewire.com and check out the Tracking Trips page. Nobody does it better.
You're watching Past the Wire TV.
Tracking trips at Past the Wire, your second set of eyes in horse racing.
Solomini,
Be a
a
member.
top 10 first crop sire in 2023, standing at McMahon of Saratoga. 14 first crop winners, including My Shady Lady, winner of the $500,000 New York Stallion Series 5th Avenue Stakes. Grade 2 winner, Winstock, and stakes winner, Solo Shot. Solomini, the 7th leading freshman sire and the only top 10 freshman sire with a grade 1 or grade 2 winner. He sired a $700,000 two-year-old at the OBS April sale. His juveniles sold for nearly 6 figures on average, more than 12 times the stud fee. Solomini, a controversial DQ from being a Grade 1 winner by 2-time Horse of the Year Curlin, standing at McMahon of Saratoga Thoroughbreds.
Breed the best and hope for the best.
Macoma broke well on the outside.
But you don't expect to get speed like this.
It is Macoma, the one to catch. Macoma has a 5-length lead in this Grade 1 corner. Outside, Macoma continues the battle on down at the rail. It is Macoma who's going to win the Met Mile.
Nobody does it better.